April 27th, 2013. High on the icy wall of Mount Everest, above 24,000 feet, chaos breaks out. Climbers stumble down the fixed ropes, helmets and goggles still strapped on. A crowd of furious Sherpas waits at Camp 2. Shouts echo across the frozen camp. Rocks fly through the thin air. Fists swing. A knife is thrown. For the first time in Everest's modern climbing era, the mountain was not only a stage for avalanches and frostbite, but a fight between European climbers and Sherpa rope fixers. It began high on the Lhotse face during rope fixing and later escalated at Camp 2. In this video, we break down what happened, who was involved, and why tensions boiled over the world's highest mountain. The story presents Tashi Sherpa's testimony. His perspective emphasizes frustration at foreign climbers, disregarding Sherpa safety, taking credit for labour, and disrespecting agreements made at Camp 2. Everest in the spring of 2013 was as busy as ever. More than 600 climbers from around the world had gathered at base camp, preparing for their chance to reach the summit of the world's highest mountain. By tradition, Sherpa climbing teams fix ropes up the steepest section of the route, securing ladders, anchoring safety lines, and creating a path for hundreds of clients to follow later in the season. It is dangerous work. Rope fixing Sherpas often climb into unstable terrain, exposed to fallen ice and avalanches. Their labour underpins the entire commercial climbing system on Everest. That year, one rope fixing team was assigned to climb the Lhotse face, a 1,200 metre wall of ice and blue tinged snow rising steeply towards Camp 3. The team included Mingma Tenzing, the lead fixer, experienced and respected among Sherpas; Karma Sarki, supporting fixer, responsible for rope anchoring and belaying; a Sherpa from Adventure Consultants, who was later struck by ice and sustained facial bruising, allegedly. At the same time, a separate team of 3 elite alpinists were on their own expedition, attempting to acclimatise for a new and difficult route. Ueli Steck, the Swiss machine, 2-time Everest summiter, famed for speed climbing; Simon Morrow, Italian alpinist and helicopter pilot, multiple Everest winter summits; Jonathan Griffith, British climber and guide, experienced in high altitude expeditions. On April 27th, the Sherpa team left Camp 2 early to secure ropes on the Lhotse face up toward Camp 3. This was dangerous work. One mistake could mean injury or death. To protect the process, they had formally announced that no one should climb above Camp 2 until the task was completed. At 22,000 feet, however, the Sherpas saw 3 foreigners ascending. Initially thought to be Russians, they were later identified as Morrow, Steck and Griffith. The team radioed for them to stop, warning of falling ice, but the climbers continued upward. Though they reassured the Sherpas that they would not interfere and would take a separate line, soon after passing Mingma, fallen ice injured a Sherpa. Ice tumbled down and hit one of our crew members. His face had bruises. Earlier, we lied to people saying it was from a slip, but in fact, a chunk of ice had struck him. Whether caused intentionally or accidentally, this angered the team and confirmed the risk. Mingma decided they should abandon rope fixing for the day, prioritizing safety. As the descent began, tensions rose further. Simone approached Mingma and began the verbal abuse. "How much money do you need?" he asked. Ueli Steck stormed in and grabbed Mingma's chest. He also pointed his axe toward him. Simon Morrow later explained, "Getting hit by chunks of ice is a very natural occurrence on an ice face. As it stands, no Sherpa has come forward to show any injury." Tashi Sherpa recalls being scared as they withdrew to Camp 2. By the time the rope fixing team returned at 2 p.m, the entire Camp 2 community had heard about the confrontation over open radio frequencies. Sherpas felt deeply disrespected. The climbers had ignored instructions, endangered workers, and then verbally and physically assaulted them. Morrow reportedly said over the radio, "We will talk with the Sherpas. We will come there and see." Rumours also had spread that the Europeans had later fixed ropes themselves and claimed credit for the work. This narrative struck a raw nerve. Sherpas regularly risked their lives but rarely received recognition. Tashi emphasises that this was not just a personal dispute. It symbolised systemic grievances. Simon Morrow's absence from earlier rope fixing coordination meetings added to perceptions of arrogance and disregard. As anger mounted, Sherpas debated how to respond. Some called for punishment or even banning the climbers from Nepal. The consensus was that an apology was necessary. Around 100 Sherpas gathered, tired and frustrated, reflecting simmering resentment from years of humiliation. Tashi and Mingma walked towards Morrow's tent to demand accountability. Outside, they encountered New Zealand guide Marty Schmidt, who, mistaking Tashi for an aggressor, confronted and allegedly assaulted him. This physical confrontation was the trigger. Other Sherpas rushed in, rocks were thrown, voices were raised, and a chaotic melee began around the climbers' tents. Griffith, Steck and Morrow claimed later that as many as 100 Sherpas attacked, threatening their lives. Tashi disputes this, insisting they were never truly in mortal danger. Had the Sherpas intended to kill, they could have. Instead, emotions boiled over in an uncontrolled but not murderous way. During the chaos, questions circulated about whether Sherpas had disguised themselves with scarves or masks. Tashi insists scarves were worn for warmth, not concealment. The climbers also claim that Morrow was beaten while kneeling. Tashi admits Simone briefly fled, later returned under pressure and apologised. He does not know whether Morrow was actually kicked or punched, but denies that the foreigners were hunted with intent to kill. He points out that the Sherpas had long respected foreign climbers. Relationships of trust, shared goals and camaraderie had built decades of Himalayan mountaineering. Yet this incident highlighted how fragile that bond could be under stress. After the brawl, international blogs and journalists spread reports, largely based on the European perspective. No one sought Sherpa voices. Even Nepal's government appointed liaison officers ignored them. This left Sherpas feeling voiceless, watching their reputations damaged without opportunity to explain. Tashi expresses frustration. Western climbers' accounts dominated global coverage, portraying Sherpas as aggressors rather than workers defending safety and dignity. The silence reinforced long-standing invisibility. Tashi reflects that resentment had always existed beneath the surface, but Sherpas had traditionally suppressed it, lacking education or power. By 2013, times were changing. Younger Sherpas were better trained, more confident, and less willing to accept humiliation. The incident became a flashpoint. Sherpas saw foreign climbers often breaking rules, taking credit, and disregarding local voices. While Sherpas themselves endured risk, underpayment and anonymity, this was not simply about Morrow's insults, but decades of imbalance in recognition and respect. For most Western climbers, Mount Everest is seen primarily as the world's highest peak and a goal to be conquered, symbolising personal achievement, adventure, and fame. Expeditions focus on physical challenge, speed, and summiting, often prioritising logistics and safety over spiritual or cultural considerations. The mountain is treated more as a stage for human ambition than a sacred entity. For Sherpas like Tashi, Everest is sacred, a goddess worshipped before every climb, a living deity commanding respect rather than conquest. They perform rituals, follow spiritual and practical traditions, and see themselves as guardians of the mountain, balancing human ambition with its power. Every climb is both a physical challenge and a sacred dialogue with the goddess. Guiding is more than a livelihood, it is cultural heritage, spiritual practice, and family tradition. Many Sherpas still rely on guiding for income. Though increasing education gives younger generations alternatives, parents often wish their children could pursue safer careers. Nevertheless, mountaineering remains central to community identity. Tashi insists that the relationship between Sherpas and climbers is not broken. Trust has been built over years, and many foreigners treat Sherpas as friends and equals. But unless deep respect replaces arrogance, similar clashes may occur again. The Everest Brawl was not just an isolated fight, it was a warning that Sherpas will no longer accept being silenced, endangered, or erased.